Per 9000's Game Room.
Okay, so the game I'm here to talk about today is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tournament Fighters. I've talked about a lot of games which happen to be on multiple platforms. Often this has either been a game which is on both the SNES and the Mega Drive, or a game that originated on the Amiga and then finally made its way to the SNES, as well as just about every other machine known to man. Well, this game was on the SNES, the Mega Drive, and it was also on the NES. It was one of those games which didn't try to be the same on any system. The NES version, in fact, was the final game Konami released for the platform in both North America and Europe, and it was the only version of the game not to be released in Japan. An interesting thing about these three games is that the character roster is different in each version. Okay, so this is one of those games with quite a few names, because obviously in the USA it's called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tournament Fighters. In Europe, due to the fact some countries didn't like the aggressiveness of the word ninja, it's called Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles Tournament Fighters. And in Japan, it's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Warriors. It's amazing, really, that the Turtles were so censored. Here in England, where the name was Heroes, the censorship of the original cartoons didn't end just with the name, though. Michelangelo, one of the Turtles' chosen weapons, were nunchuckers, and they were deemed to be too violent. The other Turtles used a staff, a pair of swords, and a pair of sai, which we all know are far less deadly weapons made from cotton wool and fairy kisses. It didn't even stop here, though. Eventually further editing would result in the loss of the Turtles' Let's Kick Shell battle cry, as it was apparently also far too violent, and we also lost the use of the term bummer, due to the fact that in the UK, bumming is a slang word for anal sex, and the term bummer was used by some as slang for somebody who likes to partake in this. Yes, I have digressed a little into a moan about censorship. Thankfully, by the time we got to this game, even though the term Heroes was kept, Mikey was allowed to use his nunchucks. I grew up with the Turtles. They were everywhere when I was a youngster. They had their own TV show, their own series of films, their own series of NES games, a whole lineup of toys, and then the usual lunchboxes, sweets, pencils. They had a SNES game, an amazing walk-along beat-em-up, which I've also reviewed. By the time that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tournament Fighters was announced, I still knew who they were and I still played the arcade game every chance I could get, but they weren't the centre of my life anymore. The very second this game was announced, people began talking about how it was just another Street Fighter 2 rip-off, and that it would be a babyish piece of trash, which could never hope to even approach any of the brilliance of Capcom's classic title. Yet I saw the name Konami, and I didn't doubt for one moment that it would be something special. I remember getting it one year for my birthday. I didn't wait for it to be cheap or anything. I just said to my mum, "Mum, I need this game. I'd like it for my birthday, please," without ever having played it. I don't think I even waited for a review score, and this is very not me. Usually I want everything for as little as possible, and only if I know what I'm getting myself into. And yet I got this for my birthday with very little warning of how good or bad it would be, and I immediately started playing it. So yes, it is a Street Fighter 2 rip-off, really. And if you want to rip into this game, that would be one of the best places to start. It is a 2D one-on-one fighter, with cartoon-based graphics. There are moves which are basically this game's versions of fireballs and dragon punches, but once you get past the game's origin, there's not much to moan about at all. Back in the day, you got fighter after fighter made by Capcom. They were pretty much the kings of the whole genre. Then you got Midway's Mortal Kombat, and of course there were the Neo Geo SNK games. There were also a lot of broken fighters trying to ride on the back of this popularity wave, but Konami really surfed over the top of all this flotsam and jetsam, so much so that I have to say that it is a real pity that they didn't try more often, as they could really have given Capcom some good competition. You might think that the fact the Turtles use weapons would change things, but they don't really. Beyond how it looks, they might as well be punching each other. There are plenty of modes, such as a story mode, a tournament mode, a beast mode, a watch mode. Basically everything you could hope for from a fighting game released at this sort of time. The Turtles themselves are all great to control. They kind of come across as the middle fighters, you know, the sort of medium power, medium speed ones. But other than this, they all feel very different, which is a surprise, as I was expecting the Turtles to be largely palette swaps with different weapons painted on top. From the point of view of a Turtles fan, some of the choices for other characters might be strange. There is the Robot Turtle, Chrome Dome, the Rat King and Shredder, Beyond this though, some of the other characters seem slightly strange choices, either having been made for this game or only having featured in the comics and not the TV show. You have the bat-like Wingnut, the shark Armageddon, a demonic long-clawed creature called War, a female ninja who looks a bit like an SNK character who snuck her way into the game somehow. Some characters were held back and instead feature in the Mega Drive and NES versions. Each version has a different roster, as I've mentioned before, but you can't help but stop and wonder who the heck is this tit, and where is Bebop and Rocksteady, where are Casey Jones, where's Baxter Stockman? Yes, other characters appear in the background Street Fighter 2 style, but you would expect from a marketing point of view that they would have slammed the most well-known characters into the game and not lesser-known comic-based ones. The graphics look great, they're bright, colourful and full of detail. I would say that this is one area in which the game clearly gives the Street Fighter 2 games of the time a nice sound pounding. The music is pretty good as well, it fits within the game and gets you in the mood, but there's nothing there which would rival the likes of the Street Fighter tunes. Nothing you'll find yourself humming in the shower really, it's just fine functional stuff. Yet overall, in my opinion, this is one of the best fighting games on the SNES. Apparently though, despite getting mostly rave reviews due to certain factors such as bad timing, it didn't sell anywhere near as well as it should have. Now I love Street Fighter 2 World Warriors and I feel that with each version Capcom got better and better, but I can't help but wonder what Konami could have achieved if this thing had sold like hotcakes. It was basically their first attempt at doing something like this, and I think they beat World Warrior, and depending on the day of the week you ask me, I might even say that this is better than Turbo. So what would we have got if they'd carried on and perfected the formula with a sequel or two? I guess we'll never know. I give this game an 8.5 out of 10. It's a brilliant game, and if you want to play it, then most likely due to licenses and such, you'll have to track down an original car or fall back on emulation. Unfortunately, the game seems to now be around the 20 to 25 quid mark on eBay just for a cartridge. But if you're a fan of one-on-one fighters and actually want a really good one, instead of one of the many rubbish ones that made its way onto the system, then I think it's well worth it. I'd sooner pay £25 for this than pay £10 for something completely rubbish like Power Athlete. Okay, so that's Kerr9000 signing off saying keep on gaming.